What TV show do you guys think astronauts would watch? Let us know in the comments below. I'm your host Yusuf, and these are 10 scary astronaut stories that will make you believe in aliens part 2. Make sure to subscribe and ring that bell to get notified whenever we upload a new video. Anyways, let's get groovy. Number 10, Space Snake. Dr. Story Musgrave, a retired NASA astronaut, accomplished a great deal during his time in space. Dr. Musgrave, the second astronaut to fly on 6 space flights, is also the most formally educated astronaut, holding 6 academic degrees. In addition, he is the only astronaut to have flown on all 5 space shuttles. Dr. Musgrave's word carries a lot of weight and authority given his experience and qualifications. As a result, it would be impossible to deny his account of witnessing an 8-foot-long white snake flying through space. It's not difficult to envisage this as a hose severed from the spacecraft, but Musgrave is adamant. He claims to have seen the 6 to 8 foot long eel or serpent-like monster on 2 separate space missions. Dr. Musgrave has often stated in interviews that alien life exists and that he has observed it. Number 9, Knock Knock. Before we begin, let's remind you that there is no sound in space, only a vacuum. Sound waves, unlike light, cannot flow in a vacuum, hence you cannot hear anything in space. This is why astronaut suits contain specific communication equipment that allows them to communicate with one another and mission control on Earth. Yang Liwei was the first astronaut launched into space by China's space program in 2003. He was sitting in a space shuttle when he heard a knock on the door many times. It sounded like someone striking an iron pail with a wooden mallet, according to Liwei. Because sound cannot travel in space, Liwei couldn't tell if the knocking was coming inside or outside the ship. Anxious, Liwei peered through the porthole but saw nothing that could explain the unusual banging. When Liwei returned to Earth, he attempted to describe that knocking to experts, but he was unable to reproduce the same sound he heard in space. The story grows more frightening as numerous other Chinese astronauts claim to have heard similar sounds during their space missions in 2005 and 2008. Number 8, Spies on the Moon? It's been more than 50 years since astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin took the first steps on the moon in front of the entire world. Nonetheless, there is no shortage of conspiracy theories that question their success. More intriguingly, there is a conspiracy theory that the moon is an alien facility used to spy on humanity. Astronaut Armstrong delivered a stronger statement than "one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind" during the Apollo 11 mission in 1969. According to the theory, when Apollo 11 arrived on the moon's surface, Armstrong expressed surprise at discovering 2 unknown spacecraft already present. These UFOs, according to Armstrong, were massive and lined up on the far side of the crater's edge, studying the Earth. The theory arose from NASA's report that Apollo 11's transmission was lost for approximately 2 minutes. Did Armstrong indeed observe aliens at the time? Number 7, Shiny. Alan Bean, a NASA astronaut, was the 4th person to walk on the moon's surface. He had the opportunity to do so when piloting Apollo 12 in 1969. Bean claimed to have seen something bright out in the distance during his moonwalk. He characterized the thing as resembling a leather shoe. It's difficult to imagine what Bean observed, and regrettably there's not much of an explanation. With Bean's passing, it appears that the eerie glow on the moon will remain a mystery for the foreseeable future. Number 6, Music. We've already addressed how sound requires a medium to travel and hence cannot be heard in space. Nonetheless, astronauts have returned to Earth with amazing stories about strange noises they heard in space. Astronauts faced a unique task during the Apollo 10 mission, which was a test run for delivering the first men to the moon. They were carrying various pieces of equipment that were being tested for space endurance since they were deemed necessary for the lunar landing. The stakes were clearly high for the astronauts on this trip, as the results would determine the destiny of the next Apollo 11 mission. The astronauts on the craft, Stafford, Young, and Cernan, heard whistling music while circling the moon. The song lasted nearly an hour and terrified the astronauts to their core. Cernan was particularly alarmed, describing the sound as otherworldly music. When the astronauts returned to Earth, they debated whether or not to notify NASA and the rest of the world about their experiences. Later, astronaut Michael Collins, who was on the Apollo 11 mission alongside Aldrin and Armstrong, recounted hearing similar music on the moon's surface. Number 5, UFO. When you hear the term UFO, you probably envision a circular, disc-shaped object in the black night sky. However, Gemini 4 astronauts Ed White and James McDivitt would describe the UFOs they witnessed in quite different ways. James McDivitt spotted something outside the spaceship that he couldn't identify on the second day of their voyage in orbit. McDivitt noticed this unidentifiable object whirling in the distance as the shuttle was drifting and Ed White was sleeping. McDivitt took out his camera and photographed this thing, which resembled a beer can with a smooth pencil-like wing extended out. Unfortunately, the photos he shot were hasty and came out blurry and underexposed. McDivitt blames the object's disappearance on solar glare. As the sun shone on the window, I could no longer see out the thing and it just disappeared. Number 4. The Fleet. Gordon Cooper was the youngest of the 7 original astronauts in Project Mercury, the United States' first human space program, and flew Mercury 9 and Gemini 5. Cooper began flying as a youth, served in WW2, and became a test pilot in 1956. Cooper thus spent a significant amount of time in the skies and had a lot of experiences at a young age. So much so that an extraterrestrial encounter can be added to that list. Cooper claims to have seen an entire fleet of UFOs while serving in the Air Force. This may appear to be a baseless assertion, yet Cooper saw a similar flying object to what he saw 10 years before in 1963. It soared towards him in the sky and was picked up by his plane's radar, which was exciting. It begs the question as to why these UFOs were so interested in Cooper. Number 3. Cylindrical UFO. Musa Manarov, a renowned Russian astronaut, worked as a flight engineer on the Soyuz TM-4 in 1991. During this mission, Manarov discovered something odd after accidentally filming it. The gleaming item in the film was swiveling and moving across space. The object was cylindrical, and Manarov's immediate thought was that it was a piece of the shuttle, but the spin and speed of the object would forever cast doubt on Manarov's mind. Number 2. Frozen bodies. Many countries, notably the USSR and United States, transported a variety of animals to space as test subjects before sending manned shuttles up there. To mention a few, there's Laika the dog, Miss Baker the squirrel monkey, and Ham the chimp. Some of them returned safely to Earth, while for others a minor calculation error resulted in space becoming their pet cemetery. While this is unfortunate, stumbling across the floating bodies of these helpless animals can be a strangely disturbing experience for astronauts. Number 1. Lights. In 2005, American astronaut Leroy Chiao served as captain of the International Space Station. Chiao and his crew claimed to have seen an unusual set of lights in space during their exploration. The structure resembled an upside-down V, according to Chiao. Chiao kept his attention on the weird thing flashing lights till it went out of his sight, his heart leaping into his mouth from the joy of the discovery. Chiao now maintains that he is certain he was visited by aliens. Furthermore, he would not rule out the idea that the UFO he saw was from another realm. Thanks for watching. Those were 10 scary astronaut stories that will make you believe in aliens, part 2. Leave a like and comment if you think we missed anything, and we hope you have a scary day.